Wrong recording button. Okay, we are good now. Okay. So, let me just say hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So glad you're here. There are some people who I see every week. There are some people I've seen recently, and some people I haven't seen for a long time. And it's great. It's just great to see all of you. So, um, hello and welcome. I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. And hopefully it will be enjoyable and interesting and entertaining for everybody. We've got some people who are still coming in. I'm just going to dive right in. I got a whole thing planned for tonight. You know me. Well, some of you know me. I'm a great planner. So here we go. So let's see. You can see the screen now, I believe. And I'm just going to dive right in here. So, um, so I would just like you to get yourself comfortable and let's talk about making the world better through art. That's what I'm calling my show right now. And just want to, I think most of you know, but just in case, this is where I am. Now, I know that you all are from all over the country. We've got people from as far away as California on the call. Here I am in the middle of North Carolina in lovely Greensboro. I just want to welcome you to my studio in my home. So come on in and into my studio where I'm sitting right here at my computer right now. Here's a closer look, just to kind of let you know where I am. And so I want to talk to you about my show first, though, and then I'm going to get into showing you a bunch of paintings and talking about interesting stories, and then I'm going to do some paintings. So let's talk about the show first. So pretty much every year I do a show here in my studio, and I usually do it in the fall. And this year I decided to do something a little bit different. I'm calling the show Make the World Better Through Art. I love to be able to use my art to help worthy causes. Um, and so I decided that if anybody buys anything, I'm going to donate 40% of every sale to one of these organizations. And I picked these 7 organizations. I tried to pick a good variety. There are so many organizations who need our help, and I tried to pick a good variety of organizations. In full disclosure, I just want to mention I did change one of the organizations. You can see that down towards the bottom, American Red Cross. Initially, I had Doctors Without Borders on the list, but after Hurricane Helene blasted through North Carolina, fortunately, by the way, not in my area of North Carolina, but things are so bad that I wanted to be able to add an organization that was working directly for Hurricane Helene relief. So I just wanted to let you know that I did make that one change. Um, Here's the way I kind of think of this show as a win, win, win. So you can get a new piece of art. I find a loving home for my work, and a nonprofit gets some dollars. So it's a win, win, win. And there are those organizations again. And then for anybody who lives near Greensboro, and I know there are a few people here who live near Greensboro, this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is my actual studio show in person, noon till 4 p.m. each day, in my studio, in my house. There's the address. And I'd love to have you stop by and see the show in person. If you come, you'll see kind of like this. This is my lovely deck in my backyard. And I discovered during the pandemic that the deck is a perfect place for me to hang art. And so it's going to be filled with art. This was last year's show, I think. Here are a few of the paintings that I'm going to be hanging this year out on my deck, just kind of trying them out here. You can also have a little rest, sit by my pond. We've put in a really lovely backyard pond, and you're welcome to come and enjoy it. You might want to watch the fish for a while. They're very entertaining. We probably won't have too many of these blooming this weekend. It's kind of past the season for that. But on the other hand, there will be at least one in my show. Water lilies, one of my favorite subjects for painting. And then if you come into the studio, there will be lots more paintings to see, chock full, walls filled with art everywhere you look. You'll also be able to see where I do my framing, if you're interested, where I paint, and where I zoom. All that just by stopping by. But tonight, here we are on Zoom together. Okay, I hope this is off to a good start here. Um, so I just wanted to be really honest with you upfront and tell you that, this event tonight is in conjunction with my annual studio show. Yes, a show. And so a logical question might be, why do we artists put our work into shows, or in this case, host their own show the way I'm doing this? And so I see three main reasons for doing this. One is getting my work seen by other people, not just me. Communicating with people. I really believe that art is all about communicating and making sales, of course. And this year, also, the idea of making sales is wrapped up with making charitable donations. So, okay, I just kind of wanted to say that, let's just be honest. It is a hope of mine. Um, so I just want to kind of talk, let kind of get the business stuff out of the way. So there's this other question. How the heck do I buy a painting? Well, yup, you need a few of these, but do remember that 40% of them will immediately be donated. And all you have to do, if you see something tonight that you just can't live without, just shoot me an email, call me up, or message me, and we'll work out all the details. If you live in North Carolina, I do have to add sales tax. And if your purchase requires shipping or mailing, there will be a small added fee to cover that. Yes, layaway is always an option. I'm quite happy to do that to help make a purchase easier for anyone. And you can win a door prize. I've got 3 paintings that I'm offering as door prizes, original watercolors. But guess what? I'm so sneaky. You have to wait till the end of this hour to get the secret code so that you can register for a door prize. That's just to keep you here. So hang on, and we'll get back to that in a little while. Okay, everybody? So now comes the fun part. What I want to do now is focus in on a few of the paintings in the show and tell you some interesting stuff about them. Some of them I think have particularly interesting stories in terms of what inspired them or how did I make them. Um, if you are not an artist, you might find this entertaining and also interesting because it kind of gets you inside the brain of an artist. And for those of you who are artists, hopefully you'll get some new ideas for your own work. This can actually be educational. So over the summer, I had a show at a local gallery. The show was called Face to Face, which is the title of this painting. face to face, these two people having a face to face conversation. I saw these two people in a pub in England, and they were deep in conversation. And I was, like across the room from them, and I pulled out my camera and kind of held it in my lap, sneaking a few photographs in. I didn't want them to know I was taking their picture. Um, and when I got home, I decided I wanted to paint them, but I decided I wanted to bring them back to North Carolina. So I thought about this place in North Carolina. I thought about this photo that I had taken. This is a town on the shore of North Carolina. And so I combined these two people, and I had 4 or 5 photos of them. So I kind of took little bits from all of the photos, put them together, changed the background, and here's the painting face to face. So here are the same two people in North Carolina now, in a pub in North Carolina. And and I just wanted to say, just in case anybody is like getting sticker shock here, this painting does have a lot of dollars attached to it. Not all the paintings in the show are quite that high. So I stuck this one in next. It's another water lily. And you can see there's a big differential in the pricing, just so you know. Okay. So this painting, what I wanted, the story behind this one is I saw this garlic drying. It was in a little CSA kind of farm that I went to a couple of years ago, and the garlic was drying in this little barn thing. And I just thought it was beautiful, the shapes of it, the shapes of the bulbs themselves and the braids. The light was lovely. And I decided I wanted to paint them. Here's the painting. Okay, you can take a look at that. Now, here's what I want to say to you. This painting right here is what we refer to as a high key painting, which means that all of the colors, the darkness or lightness, which we refer to using the word value, is rather light. So these values on the top of my value scale are what these values are comprising most of the painting. Not only that, this painting is exploring all the different colors of white. So if you look at this painting, you can look even at this one main big bulb of garlic and look at all the variations. This is a bluish white and a purplish white and a goldish white and a pinkish white and a whitish white. I was just playing with those very light values of color and infusing as many different colors into the whites as I could. So much fun to do. Okay, here's an interesting place that I saw down in the Virgin Islands. I wanted to make a painting of this beautiful old weathered yellow gate. Here's what I was actually seeing in this place. And what you can see is that the yard had a lot of, there was a lot of very lush tropical foliage, and there was just a lot of stuff kind of um, making the image a little hard to read. And so to make a painting that was easier to read, I took out anything that was extraneous, anything that wasn't essential to my painting or the story that I wanted to tell. And here's the painting. So I just wanted to show you. I frequently simplify my images considerably like this so that my viewer can really appreciate the place and the feeling and the story that I want to tell. Okay, a lovely swan, obviously. Here's what I saw. Look how dull the color is. This is where I was. Sometimes I really like dull color, grayish color, but I really wanted to punch up the color to make this painting. So I added a whole lot more color, and I think it makes a more compelling painting. And this is a fun one. Also, another place I saw down in the Virgin Islands, which is where I get the inspiration for a lot of my paintings. And so, okay, laundry, yeah. I love painting laundry. I love the shapes in laundry. Here's what I was looking at. Here's all that laundry. And so here's what I want to say to you with laundry. It's not going to dry real well if there's no breeze. See the way it's all hanging straight down? If there's no breeze and there's no light on it, it's going to take all darn day to dry. So when I made my painting, I puffed out a little breeze. So I changed the angles and the curves. So I puffed a little breeze on it. I put some light on the laundry. And now it looks like it's going to dry. And it's also, I think, a more compelling image because it's got the movement and the suggestion of that nice, bright, glowing light, like the light's coming right through those pieces of laundry. And here's a fun one. This is a very recent painting from a recent workshop that I taught. This is actually a place up in Maryland near where I used to live. Here's my source photo. Do you see the source photos taken during the day? And here's my painting with the moon rising. So this is something that I like to do now and then, not infrequently. Just take a daytime photo and imagine what that place looks like as the moon's rising or even in the middle of the night, and just change my whole painting around. Okay, in June, I was up in Delaware, staying on the shore there. And I woke up early, early, early one morning and saw the most amazing, spectacular sunrise. Here's what I saw. It really was that spectacular. Um, but if you look at the picture, you can't see a whole lot about what's going on down here in the foreground. And I knew because I was staying right there, there were all kinds of interesting sea grasses and native plants of all kinds. So I used a photo. This is pretty much the same view, photo taken during the day. The photo that I took when I woke up early, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I combined the best bits from both oops, where'd that painting go? To make the painting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I know why. Here's my little friendly color wheel. I know why I put this in. What I wanted to say, for those of you who are artists in particular, the thing that makes this painting really compelling is that I took two colors, orange, which is right here. Can you see upper left? And then go straight across the color wheel to the lower right. That's blue. We call these complementary colors because they're across each other from the color wheel. When you smack orange next to blue, it's really brilliant and it's really hard to look away. And it really helped me to create that feeling and that spectacular moment that I saw. Now, also speaking about complementary colors, where'd that go? If you look here at red, this time we're going to start at red and move across to green, okay? Another pair of complementary colors right here in this painting. What I did was I took red, I gave this guy a red bandana and a red ribbon around his neck for his whistle. And I almost created a red circle. It's broken, yes, but my viewer, you guys, can kind of travel around in a circle on this red pathway that I've created to keep you looking at his face and his whistle, which is what the story's about. But what did I add into the painting in addition to the red? The complement of green in the background. So I'm using what I know about colors and how they interact to create an image, a painting that is more interesting than the photo I started out with. Here's the guide. You can see I cropped out most of the photograph. Do you see a red bandana or a red ribbon? No. Do you see the green in the background? No, it's not there. I put it in to make a better painting. Here's the painting. It's a rather small framed painting, by the way. Okay, and now this is an interesting photograph. I was just showing this to a class just a few days ago. When I see something interesting, like a big old glorious head of cabbage, I have this habit of aiming my camera straight at it, and then the head ends up smack in the middle of my photo, and I don't usually want it smack in the middle of my painting. So watch what I did with this photo. Painting number one. I moved the head of the cabbage to the right and down. Painting number two, I moved it to the right and upwards. Painting number three, I moved it to the left and upwards. Not only that, I made a horizontal painting, a vertical painting, and a square painting, all from the one photograph. I hope these stories are interesting to you. Okay, here are the paintings now. This one is not in the show because it actually lives in Illinois now, but this one's in the show, and this one's in the show, and so I can share them with you. I've got a couple of more small framed ones. And here's what I want to say. All the paintings I've shown you so far were painted on paper. Pretty much all of them on a surface that we refer to as cold pressed watercolor paper. It's got a lovely bumpy texture that we watercolor painters love to paint on. These are different packages of different brands of cold pressed paper that I use. But here's another surface completely different from cold pressed paper that I love to paint on. It's called aqua board. So I'm just going to show you that's part of the packaging. And here's one of my paintings in the show on aquaboard. Aquaboard is designed to be framed without glass. Most watercolors are framed, if they're on paper, they're framed with a mat and then a piece of glass or plexiglass in a frame. With aquaboard, you can seal and varnish the surface and frame it without glass. So it looks more like an oil painting, but it still has some of that lovely glow of a watercolor. So here's that same painting in its frame, and you can see there's no glass. And here's another one on aquaboard. And there it is, framed, no glass. And another one, aquaboard, framed, no glass. It's very different, and it's a different process to paint on it. And some of you I know use aquaboard, and so you've experienced it. Okay, now here's another surface that I sometimes use, Yupo, Y-U-P-O, and it is plastic. Truly plastic. When you pick up a piece of Yupo, it's white. It feels kind of like a piece of watercolor paper, but it behaves nothing like watercolor paper because it's plastic and it's completely non-absorbent. Here's a good example of a painting on Yupo, and I just want to pull in a little closer and show you that when you paint on Yupo, because of the plastic surface, you get very interesting things happening, like these crazy runbacks and interesting textures. It's really quite an adventure to paint on this stuff. Here's a painting that's in the show, these poppies. And I just want to show you really quickly. This is how I started the painting of poppies. See, here they are, nice, bright, colorful poppies. I started it on my Yupo with a heavy, 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 dark, dark, dark layer of paint. Then on top of that dark layer, I drew the poppies. Then I took a dampened brush and touched the surface of the paint film on the Yupo, and the water just dissolves the paint, and you can lift it off, and then add the color back in to create the brilliant colors on the poppies. You can't do that on regular watercolor paper. It just will not work. Here's another one on Yupo. And another one. This is a place just about 4 or 5 miles from my house in Greensboro. Yupo again. Yupo again. And here's another product, another way I like to paint watercolors. So this stuff you can see, gesso, Gesso. Gesso is used by oil painters to prime their canvases. Um, so it's used actually to cut down the absorbency. So what I like to do is to coat my watercolor paper with a couple of layers of acrylic gesso, and it makes a whole new and very interesting surface to paint on. I kind of sometimes think about painting on gesso as sort of a halfway happy medium between painting on regular, shall we say, normal paper and Yupo, halfway in between. It's super fun to paint on. So here's this was the very first painting you saw when we started. So this is painted on gessoed paper, as is this one and this one. The nice thing about gessoed paper is it's really easy to lift paint off, not quite as easy as the Yupo, like those poppies I showed you, but almost. So this waterfall was actually lifted off. I had painted dark-ish colors right across it, right through it, and then lifted off the paint to reveal the white of the waterfall. And I love to paint my abstracts on gessoed paper. And so here are a few of my abstracts. Some of them are framed, some of them are unframed. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention, I know in the beginning I said, oh my God, sticker shock for this one. Okay, so so what I just wanted to say, okay, now I'm getting back, a little bit to sort of the businessy kind of thing. If money's no object, yeah, you could get this one or this one. My figurative paintings do tend to be higher priced because it takes me so much longer to create them. But I also just want to say that in the show, there's a whole bunch of unframed watercolors, um, which are much more affordable, lower prices, lower shipping costs. And of course, if you get an unframed painting, you can frame it however you like. And of course, I'll make that same donation to one of those organizations. And by the way, did I mention before, you can pick where that donation from your painting would go. You tell me, and that's where I'll send it. Okay, so just to show you real quickly, a few of the unframed paintings, and then I'm gonna do a bit of painting for you. So let's see, unframed. Okay, so all of these now that I'm gonna show you are all unframed. This is a lovely, beautiful lioness at the wonderful North Carolina Zoo that we have here. We've got a fabulous zoo in North Carolina. I think I have my photo that I used for this one. Check it out. Check out the title, I'm Being Followed by a Moon Shadow. Do y'all remember that song? Here's the photo I used to make it. So just to show you once again, it was a daytime photo. There are two interesting things happening here between the photo and the painting. So what I just want to point out, obviously I'm going from daytime to nighttime. What I really love here, can you see? I just love the shadow being cast by this big old tree on the side of this house. And that's what I really wanted to paint. So I took most everything out of the painting, including the tree. I thought, well, here's what one thing that I sometimes believe that what I leave out of a painting can make a painting more interesting. So instead of putting that tree in, yeah, I left it out, and my viewer has to kind of, maybe ponder that for a minute. Where's that shadow coming from? Oh, yeah, there must be a tree out to the right. And I think, honestly, it makes the painting more interesting to not say everything, to not put everything in. And then, of course, there's the whole thing about changing from daytime to nighttime. So now it's a moon shadow. Here it's a sun shadow. I made it a moon shadow. Okay, here's another one on Yupo, crazy plastic paper. In a garden, obviously. Here's one of my most recent paintings. I had a lovely vacation in Greece this summer, and this was one of the places that we visited in Delphi. These are some very, very ancient ruins in Delphi in Greece. And here's another one on gessoed paper. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay, yeah, if I zoom in close, this is kind of interesting. If you look right in here, you see these streaky marks? Those streaky marks are left by my brush, the way it brushed on the acrylic gesso. I brush it on quite freely and randomly, and it leaves interesting textural marks. You can see it here also in the elephant's face. Some of these marks that look like little dots are actually created by the bumpy surface of the watercolor paper that's beneath the gesso. And then the streaky kind of marks come from the two layers of brushed on gesso. So all that combines to create a fascinating, fascinating surface to paint on. Okay, this is called a vignette, by the way, where I've deliberately not taken my paint all the way into and out of the four corners of the painting. And I design those unpainted corners very carefully. We use the term interlock. So the unpainted corner shapes interlock with the main painted area of the image that's towards the center of the paper. This one is on gessoed paper also, as is this one. This is regular watercolor paper. And this one too. And I think this might be the last one to show you. This is not a watercolor. This is a giclée. It's a print, a reproduction of a watercolor painting that I made a couple of years ago. I made the painting, and then I decide I don't have many prints made from my work anymore these days. I used to have more made, but I don't really get into that very much these days. But I felt like this particular image might be good to have made into a print. So this is a giclée. It's a very good quality, very accurate reproduction from the original art. And just for fun, I'm going to show you, here's my source photo. The backstory behind this painting is that a few years ago, it was the month of January, there was a big full moon rising. And I went outside to look at the moon, and I looked, this is my next door neighbor's yard, and the moon was rising through the trees. And because the trees were bare, you could see the moon rising. There was no snow on the ground. Look, snow. Okay, there was no snow on the ground. So I tried to take a photo of the moon, but it was nighttime. I couldn't get a decent picture. So the next day I went out and I took a photo of my neighbor's yard. Not too inspiring, is it? There's no moon, there's no night sky, there's no snow, even though it was January. We don't get much snow in North Carolina. Um, so I decided that what I wanted to do was put a moon into my painting. I wanted, in other words, I was going to take this rather unattractive photograph of my neighbor's yard and add a moon, add some snow, turn it into night. And so that's what happened. So here's the end result. So it has a little bit of a feeling of all those trees. I left out, I kind of left out this stuff, which wasn't terribly attractive. But so here's the picture. So I do have a few of these reproductions of Snow Moon. And that's it. And so one thing I do want to say is good news, just so you know. I've already made a sale in the show. So this painting is sold and it has been shipped off to its owner, and I have already made the donation for it. So just to let you know, in case you see something you like. Okay. Oh, and guess what? Now it's time to paint. All right, I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute so I can just say, hi, everyone. Oh, you're still here. Thank you. I'm so glad you're still here. So nice to see you all still here. Okay, want to see me paint? Okay, I got something fun to do for you. There's some people here that I didn't see before. Oh, yay. Welcome. Okay, so over to my painting. Let's see, time to paint. Where am I? Okay, so before I start to paint, here's what I'm going to be working on for you. And so here's the deal with my painting. A few weeks ago, I'm trying to remember how long ago. Well, we'll just say a couple of weeks ago, I presented an online painting demo for a watercolor society in California. And I only had about an hour and a half to work on it. And so I didn't finish it. So I decided, well, gee, why don't I just work a little bit more on that same painting tonight? So you're going to see a painting that's about halfway done, and I'm going to do a little more work on it. I've got 7:39. This is perfect timing. I'll take about 15 minutes or so and do a little bit of painting for you. So this is what I'm painting. I believe these flowers are called cosmos, and um, I'm going to be cropping in a little closer on the flowers. I started this painting, as I start just about every painting, with a small pencil sketch. I call this a value sketch because I'm planning what's going to be light, what's going to be dark, and what's going to be in between. In other words, various grays. So here's my sketch. This was my drawing on my watercolor paper before I started my demo. This is the way I started the painting. This is called an underpainting. I put a lot of water on the whole piece of paper and then flooded on a lot of really, really, really wet paint and kind of moved it around and let it move around on its own to create a base. So this creates a basic color or a basic color scheme for the painting. And you might notice that even though there's all this lovely green stuff in the background, can you see that? I'm not starting with green paint in my underpainting in the background. I'm letting the reds and the purples and a little bit of blue kind of sneak into the background. No green, except here's some green. Now, this is as far as I got for the Watercolor Society. And so now I'm just going to take you over to the actual painting. And let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. Hello, just want you to know, here I am. This is not pre-recorded or anything. This is really happening. Okay, here's my palette opened up, and I'm gonna start to paint. I just want to point out to you, here's that same sketch I showed you. This is my value study, which I keep by my side, close to me. It helps to guide me, give me ideas, and keep me on track. I'm taking it off camera, but I can see it. And I also have the picture on my iPad, which is where I look at my photographs when I paint. Okay, so let's do some painting for you. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, and I'm just looking for the right brush. I think this is a good brush. So this is a medium-sized round brush. And you can see that when I was doing the demo for the Watercolor Society, I spent most of my time on this. There are 3 flowers. I spent most of my time on this one. This one is more or less my focal area that I'm more interested in this one. So I never got to these guys. So let's get a little bit going on these, okay? Let's just do that. So I'm going to get some this is for those of you who are artists, painters, you'll want to know what I'm using. Those of you who are not painters, well, you're going to hear it anyhow. This is cobalt violet. It's a lovely violet. This is a bit of pink that I don't use very often because it does have a slight tendency to fade. So I use it in great moderation and not too often. It's called wild fuchsia or opera, depending on the brand that you buy. I'm going to mix them together a little bit on my palette. And what I want to do now in this flower is to make some of the petals push back in space and let some of the others appear to pull forward. So what I'm going to do is where I want to push things back, I'm going to darken a bit. I started darkening this one. Let's pull in for you tighter. Here we go. I started darkening this one a little bit on camera for the folks in California a couple of weeks ago, but let's darken it more. What I'm doing is I'm painting with pretty wet fluid paint on dry paper. That enables me to get a nice clean stroke of paint, and it kind of stays where I want it to, and then I can soften the edge of it. So you see I've got a nice bit of darkness there now, which makes this petal look like it's pushing back. And this one in front of it is pulling forward. I call this push-pull. I do this a lot when I'm painting flowers. Right over here, I'm going to make another stroke. This little skinny petal. And you might notice, without even thinking about it, I just turned my painting. I do this all the time. I turn my painting so I can get a better view or get my brush to get my brush into a specific area a little more easily. I want to pull this one forward, so I'm going to push this one back by darkening it. And you might notice that right here, I took some of that pinkish mixture and pulled it right over into the background space, which we refer to as negative space, because it's okay. I want some of this pink to relate to the background color, so I'm going to deliberately pull some of it off into the negative space. Here I've got one petal that's overlapping another one. That's the way these flowers grow. Okay, let's darken right along the edge. Right along the edge like this. One stroke. I'm not fiddling around with my stroke. I just make one long stroke. And then look, I cross the edge into the background. I love crossing edges. Okay, and then I can soften this a little bit. All right, so now this petal looks like it's in front of this one. I didn't darken this quite as much as this one because I don't want to push this one back quite as far. Let's take this petal now and put it on top. This guy's getting pushed back in both directions. Honestly, I'm not sure if that's the way a flower would grow, but I'll do that anyhow. Okay, so now this petal is going to push right back, and I'm going to take that paint right over what I have here in the middle. Those of you who are painters probably know what this is. This is a bit of masking fluid, which is creating a resist, and it's not allowing the paint to go through it. When I take the masking fluid off here, which I probably won't do tonight, I'm going to pop in some beautiful golden yellow to make the center of this flower. Okay, so this flower is really starting to take on more form now. And I'm just going to pop this one back also. I want to work a little bit faster so I can get on to other things for you. I'm not going to be able to finish these flowers entirely for you, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of that procedure. I had started, I'll show you on my iPad. See this last flower? You can see the green leaves that stick on to the bottom. I'm not a botanist, would probably be horrified to hear me say the green leaves are sticking onto the bottom of the flower. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. So let's stick these green leaves on. I used to have a student who's a botanist. I don't think he's here tonight, so maybe I can get away with saying that. All right, let's just get this going. So I just mixed a bit of one of my greens on my palette, which is called sap green. And I mixed it with a bit of lemon yellow to kind of brighten it a little bit and warm it up a little bit. And we'll just get this shape made. I didn't have time to do that for the demo a couple of weeks ago. So there's the bottom of the of that flower. And in fact, I'm going to take a little bit of this warmer mixture. Here it is on my palette, by the way. You can see this is the paint from the paint well right here. That's called sap green. This is my lemon yellow, just mixing it a little bit. And I'm going to just kind of punch up the bottom of the middle flower right now with a little bit of that brighter yellowy mixture. So now this is going to relate a little bit better to the one that's right next to it. And now that I'm thinking about some of the green stuff in the painting, I want to do a little bit of painting down here for you. I started in the demo a couple of weeks ago you can see I've got a suggestion of like a little twisty leaf. The leaves on these flowers look kind of twisty. So what I'm going to do, I'm putting some more paint on my palette. Now what I've got here is a different green. This is called Viridian green. You can see it's rather blue looking. So there's some of that Viridian green. And I'm going to put a bit of this purple on my palette as well. This is mauve. It's a lovely bluish purple. Okay, so I got all this paint on the palette. And also, I can mix it together a little bit, just so you know. All right. Sometimes I mix it together. More often, though, I don't mix it 100%. That way, when I go back to the palette to pick up paint, I can stick my brush in a variation of the color. So it's not always the same. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to start right about here. And I'm going to paint around the edge of the tip of this flower. And now I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to paint. I can see my pencil lines. Honestly, I don't know if you can.
Alexis, your head is right at the,
Thank
yep.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Whoever said that, I appreciate it. I was afraid I was going to do that. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm starting to paint around shapes. I'm trying to see my pencil lines. You know, we make our pencil lines and then we start painting over them, and sometimes they get lost beneath the paint. And so I'm just.
Your head is still blocking a lot.
Okay. Are we okay now? Can you see now?
That's much, much, much better. Yep.
Whoever keeps telling me that, thank you. Keep just telling me to get my big head out of the way. Okay, so can you see what's happening now? What I'm doing is I'm painting around shapes with darker paint. So what I'm trying to do by painting around the shapes, and while I'm doing this, by the way, I'm picking up slightly different colors, variations of green from my palette. So I don't want it, in other words, I don't want it to be like boring, just the same green everywhere. Um, but what I want to do is to make these different shapes. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining this well. The shapes of the leaves and the stems, I want them to emerge. For those of you who are painters, you know this already. The shapes of the leaves and the stems. By the way, I'm using purple right here and even a touch of pink in the background. The shapes of the leaves, I'm trying to get this thought out of my mouth here to you. The shapes, the shapes of
On
the
your
leaves and
head
the
again.
stems, we refer to those as positive shapes. And then we refer to the background as negative shapes. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm painting the negative shapes mostly, leaving the positive shapes lighter. And so they're going to appear. And so as I do this, I think you can start to see that all of a sudden leaves are appearing and stems are appearing. And it's super fun to do this and very interesting to do this. And I think it creates a more interesting look than if I were to be painting on all the leaves. I hope I'm making sense. Painting on all of the leaves and the stems, as opposed to what I'm doing here, painting around them. So now we've got a whole big bunch of leaves and stems, and that's probably where I'm going to stop for tonight. It's just about 7 o'clock. All right, let's zoom out. Okay, look, so there's been a fair amount of progress here tonight, developing a little bit of the push-pull here and the negative painting here. There's one thing I really want to do with masking fluids. That's the stuff that's on the center of this flower. I had masking fluid here when I did the demo for the folks in California, and then I took it off. I'm going to very carefully remove the masking fluid, and I use this, it's like a hunk of rubber to remove it. You really ideally want to wait until everything is absolutely dry before you remove masking fluid. This is a little risky because I'm not sure that my paint is 100% dry, but I really want to show you what happens. Let's come in closer. I'm sorry. Okay, see the way it looked just kind of grayish before. The masking fluid has done its job. This is the original white watercolor paper that I started out with when I made my drawing. I showed you my drawing before. I showed you the slide of it. And I knew that when I made that big old wet, slushy underpainting, I did not want all that pink and purple to go into the center because I wanted the center to be really bright, really warm, really intense yellow. And so I used that masking fluid to protect that white watercolor paper. So there, and so what I'm doing now, after I take the masking fluid off, then I come back in and I can add color, which is what I'm doing now, to create the color, the texture, the form on the center of this flower. So there you go. White paper's gone. The masking fluid was removed to reveal the white paper. And now the white paper's gone because I've been able to put in that wonderful golden color that I was aiming for in the very first place. And just a couple of more dots of this lovely purple right here. And now it's time for me to stop. But here's the painting, okay? Still not done. I will finish this painting. And in fact, I can even send you a picture of it if you want to see a picture of it finished. But the rest of it is just going to get done on my own. I don't have any more online events planned for this painting. So there you have it. Okay, painting, painting, painting. I just love to paint, and I love to share that with people. So, okay. Let me go back to the pictures for just a minute. All right, so this is where I was when I started tonight. And you can see all those leaves, they weren't there. Now they are. Okay, time for the door prize, everybody. Okay, anybody who's here, you can register for the door prize. The people who come to the actual show this weekend, they can register for the door prize too. So I won't have, I'm going to have 2 winners, but not till after the weekend. Okay, so you're going to have to be patient. So these are the paintings. I've got 3 paintings picked out for the door prize. They're all pretty small. And there will be 2 winners. So the first name that I pull out gets first choice. The second name gets to pick from the remaining 2. And the third painting I'll just have to keep it myself. So that's the way it's going to work. The people who come to the show this weekend, they can fill out a little teeny form like this, an actual piece of paper. If you register for the door prize, I'll fill out one of those pieces of paper for you, and I'm going to put it in for you, okay? Here's the code, WTW. That means want to win, and 24 for 2024. Okay, so that's the secret code, WTW24. So what you need to do now, here's what you have to do. Send me an email, and you all have my email because you're here, and say, sign me up, Alexis, WTW24, the magic code, and I'll put you in for the drawing. I'll also, once I've snagged your email and I know you were here tonight, I will send you the Zoom recording from tonight and a recap of the paintings. And then if you're a winner, I'll let you know, but not until after this weekend. So that's how it's going to work. Okay. WTW24. Boom. Okay. And just to remind you one more time, yes, it is a show. Yes. So if you decide you want to get something, I will donate 40% on your behalf to whatever one of these very fine organizations you choose. Q&A time. Okay. Want to unmute? I had muted everybody when we started. If you want to unmute, if you got a question, now's the time.
Alexis, this is Shara. I just wanted to say thank you very much for inviting us into your studio, and what a lovely hour it's been. Great demo, and your paintings are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shara. That's so nice of you to say that. I appreciate that.
Alexis,
Yes, Carolyn.
from Arizona, warm,
Yeah.
hot wishes to you. It's wonderful seeing you again. Thank you
It's-
so much for a wonderful hour. I loved every minute.
You're so welcome, and I'm so happy to see you tonight, Carolyn. Thank you.
Alexis, thank you for all this information. My head is spinning.
Really? Oh my
The,
goodness.
the
the gesso on the watercolor paper, is there any watercolor paper that works better than another?
When I prepare my paper with gesso, I like to use cold press paper. That's my preference.
Any,
Because the little bumps on the cold press paper, they show through, there's the bumps on the paper, and then I brush on two sort of different directions
okay,
of the gesso, and the combination of the bumps and two layers of gesso just makes, I think, such an interesting surface. You
okay,
can certainly use other like you could use hot press, for instance, but I don't think it's as interesting.
okay,
I don't use rough paper very often for anything, so I can't really speak to that as well.
okay,
I really prefer the cold press. And as far as brands, now, it's not like I have a specific brand. Any cold press.
okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, this is
And
Janet.
hmm?
Oh,
Janet, yes, Janet.
I just wanted to thank you. This was fabulous. Thank you for inviting us in
You're
and
welcome.
seeing your work and seeing your work in progress and seeing the painting that we had done in the workshop
Oh,
finished was beautiful.
Janet, are you in the Santa Clara Valley
No,
watercolor?
we were
Oh.
no, we were with Cheap Joe's.
Oh, you were with Cheap Joe's. I knew
Right,
you
and
were in a workshop
finishing,
recently.
but seeing it framed and all,
Oh.
this is just lovely.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Yeah, the organization in California for this, it's called Santa Clara Valley Watercolor Society. So I was getting everything a little mixed up. Okay.
Try
Any other questions? Luann, I think it was really hilarious. I was referring to your very nice husband when I'm sure you realized who I was referring to when I was saying, these little things stick on the bottom of a flower. And I said, this man who is a botanist would probably, want to smack me if he heard me say that. And his wife is here tonight. Anyhow, hi, Luann, please tell Ken that I was thinking of him tonight while I was painting, okay? Any other questions? I'd be happy to answer any questions about the stories or the process.
Yeah, Alexis,
Yes.
this is Sandy. I'm in New Jersey.
Hi,
Uh,
Sandy. It's so nice to see you. It's been a while.
yeah, I've taken a couple classes from you.
I know.
It's interesting you were talking about that you liked cold press and in combination with the gesso is interesting. I thought that was great. Do you see any significant differences between brands of paper, and what weight paper do you typically like to use?
For gesso or just in
Oh,
general?
just in general, not
Oh,
just.
okay. Um, Over the last few years, in terms of cold press, kind of my two go-to brands have been Kilimanjaro, which is Cheap Joe's brand, kind of their house brand, and Arches. But I'll tell you, in the last year, I discovered a new kind of watercolor paper, and it's called Hahnemühle. I can't pronounce it. It's a German name or a Dutch name, and I cannot begin to pronounce it. Um, and it is marvelous. And it's kind of my new favorite paper. I'm really, really loving it. I just love the way it responds to the touch of my brush in terms of laying paint down, lifting paint off. It just seems to have the right amount of sizing and absorbency, and oh, it's beautiful. So you might want to try that.
And then any certain weight paper?
Oh, I usually use 140,
Okay.
140 pound. That's what this is. Every now and then I do use 300 pound, just for, I don't know, just kind of for a little variety. I'll use 300 pound, but most of the time 140. And part of the reason I like it is because I like to manipulate the paper. And you might have noticed that I don't tape the paper down. I mean, if I go back over to the painting here, it's not taped down.
Oh.
And occasionally I'll clamp it. So if I need to secure it a little bit more, I'll just take this is called a bulldog clip, and I'll put 4 of these in the corners, and that can hold it in place a little bit. But aside from that, I like to be able to pick up the paper and rotate it or twist it or curl it, or to get the paint to move. And 140 works really well for that. So
Okay. Do you ever use hot press or
oh
typically
yeah, oh absolutely I do. I love it. Mhm.
any difference in brands for hot press or the same ones?
Well, the Kilimanjaro actually doesn't make hot press.
Okay.
So the hot press that I usually use is Arches. And
Okay.
I've just gotten some of the Hahnemühle to try, but I haven't actually tried it yet.
Yeah. Thanks, Alexis.
The painting I showed you of the just to where be you're welcome, Sandy. You said thank you, and I forgot to say you're welcome. This one's hot press. There are a number of paintings in here. All of the first ones were cold press. I just wanted to see if anything else was hot. This might be the only one that happens to be hot press. I don't use it as often. Oh no, there is another one. I'm pretty sure this is hot press. Yep, this one's also hot press. So two of them at least, but it's very nice to paint on hot press. It takes the paint a little bit differently. Makes different kinds of marks, and it's good. Okay. Anything else?
Alexis, can you hear me?
Hi, Dee, I can hear you.
Okay, well, this is my first time, and it was fascinating. I have absolutely no artistic ability at all, and I was just amazed at how you can take that watercolor and you can control it, and all of a sudden you've got a leaf, or you've accented the flower, and you managed to merge the colors. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. Thank you
I'm
for
so-
the opportunity
I'm-
to do this.
You're welcome. And Dee, congratulations to you. You zoomed on and you
Well, and just I could see where it said unmute, and I did, and so now you can hear me.
Yeah, indeed. I'm glad, I think that doing this is, what I did tonight. My hope is, of course, that most of the people on the screen are artists. Most of the people on the screen are current or former students, actually. And so I'm pretty sure that they're going to find it interesting. But I also love it when people like you come who aren't artists, it's like, just get right into my brain now, So that's super fun for me to be
Good.
able to share that.
Okay, well, I'm signing off.
Okay, well, you know what? I think we're all going to sign off. It's gone to 8:10, so it's pretty much time. Unless there's any other burning questions that you'd like to ask, I don't want to cut anybody off.
I just
Okay,
want to
well, I
wish
will
you luck.
say,
It's Jen.
Good
I want to
night.
wish you luck next week.
oh, thank
Have
you.
great weather and do a lot of selling.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It looks like we're going to have a good weekend here in North Carolina, so I'm looking forward to it. So I wish you all could come this weekend. That would be so nice.
It would be.
But thank you for being here tonight, and take care, everybody, and I'll be in touch, okay? Send me that code now. Remember, WTW24. Send it to me. You could be the winner, okay? All right. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good
Alexis.
night.
Bye.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye.